have to like click it a number of times for it to go. Yeah, exactly. But looks like it's working now. We're live.
The hamster wheel.
This week has flown by.
I know, and I am not unhappy about this.
No. I know. We have a holiday weekend coming up, and I actually get to move into my new house.
I'm so excited for you.
Yeah, if listening out there in the world, if you were at the Pet Boarding and Daycare Expo and went to our talk on Monday, Jeff was like, Shantae, why don't you tell everybody about what's going on with you and your funding? I was like, really? You want me to talk about this? Anyways, but I am finally closing on my house. So I get to move in tomorrow and super happy about that. And then hi, Groom Room.
Hi.
Yes, we love it when people chime in. So
yes, please.
Yeah. So happy Wednesday, everyone.
Yeah.
Welcome to the Dog Gurus live discussion and podcast. So if you're watching and listening live, thank you. We appreciate it. We love all the engagement, and maybe we'll ask you a few questions throughout the talk today and get your opinion on some things. So my name is Shantae Marquez, and I'm joined with Amber Burkhalter. We are both Profit Network coaches at the Dog Gurus, and the Dog Gurus provides expert business guidance and has helped hundreds of pet care facilities thrive because we use comprehensive resources with proven strategies built by pet care business owners. Yes, that's right. That's what makes us unique in the industry. Every one of our coaches has actually walked through your shoes. We are business owners. We have ran our facilities. Some of us are still running the facilities. Some of us are absentee owners and very successful running these facilities. So we as a group just love to help others, and we love to help others learn from our own mistakes. So we don't want you to go through the painful processes that we went through, and we want to pay it forward and help you reach your goals. So anyways, enough about that. Today's topic is, enough on that stump, right? Okay, today's topic is safe dog greetings. So understanding proper etiquette really is crucial for preventing bites, reducing stress, and ensuring positive experience for both dogs and humans. So today, what we're going to cover is human to dog and dog to dog greetings, along with what to do in special situations. So today, I guess we're going to start with the human to dog greetings. And I'm going to refer to Amber, our expert trainer and coach. And I want you to get started on this topic. What would you tell
dog to people greetings are, it's interesting. Humans, I think most of us that are listening to this will know this, that we greet very, very differently than dogs do. But often when you have your own business and you hire a team, hopefully your team members love dogs. And so they will greet a dog very excitedly. They'll go straight to them. They'll stand over them. They do all of these things that are actually not friendly to a dog. Mm-hmm. And I think the thing that makes it difficult is that some dogs are really resilient, right? Like some dogs, you can do all the wrong things and they're like, it's cool. The golden retrievers of the world that are like, it's cool. We're still friends. Some dogs, when you do all the wrong things, they don't handle it very well. I think when you're working with your team, you want to focus on dogs that are nervous, maybe less confident, and making sure that you train your team on what that looks like. The Knowing Dogs product that we have teaches you what to look for in the dog's body language, which are these huge red flags. Dogs don't snap or bite or react. There are like out of nowhere, right? There are all of these signs and steps that lead up to it. But if you don't know what those things look like, you don't know what those things look like.
So they can be really subtle too. So
very subtle sometimes.
Yeah, it's very important to train your staff about
The other thing about the environment that we work in is most of the time when you greet a dog, it's in the lobby and they're on a leash. And what most of us don't realize is that this is a confinement issue for many dogs, right? They realize they can't get out of this situation if they are uncomfortable. And so now they have to make a decision around how uncomfortable are they and what is their reaction going to be to it. So what I usually encourage people to do is, you can crouch down, don't make direct eye contact, don't put your face into the dog's face, and most of us were raised like stick your hand out and let the dog smell your hand, That's how I was raised. I was raised around hunting dogs, so I knew better even as a young age. But yeah, a lot of people will do that, like, oh, hey, smudgy, 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 right? Grabbing the dog's face. And it's just dangerous. It's very dangerous. If you're going to take a dog, to the back to get them ready for a service, I always say, talk to mom, talk to dad, keep an eye on the dog, see how the dog's reacting, and then just calmly take the leash and walk away. When you get in the back, let them sniff around, let them relax, and then let the dog come to you. Many years ago, I was up at a sanctuary in the northern part of the United States, at a wolf sanctuary. And one of the things that I walked away from there with was they have this rule of let the wolf come to you, pet them 3 times and stop, and then let the wolf make a decision. And then you respond to their decision. When you're working with pet dogs, it's no different. Let them come to you, pet them for a count of 3, and then let them make the decision. If they want to walk away, let them walk away. Never hug them. That's the big one, right? How many times have you heard, oh, he loves when I hug him? No, friend, he does not. He may be tolerating you hugging him, but he's not loving that behavior at all.
Yeah, it's important when it's a dog you don't know, because our dogs let us do all sorts of things.
Yes.
I mean, they want us, we think they want us to cuddle them and kiss all over their face.
Yes.
And in real proper canine language, that's actually pretty confrontational.
It's very confrontational.
So I just want to repeat and just what you said and just kind of put it in a nice little bow there. So proper technique for a human to approach a new dog is, number 1, always ask the owner permission before greeting your dog.
I did not say that. That is a very good point, Shantae.
I think you did mention it, but anyways, we'll move forward. And then number 2 is approach from the side rather than head on. So, I would never walk to a new dog facing straight. I would always walk to the new dog kind of like with my body to the side like that. Because again, in canine body language, face to face, head on is very confrontational. And in fact, when you go to the dog park or when you're at working at your facilities, you'll see most dogs with good manners.
They do not do that.
On the side. Yep. It's like a C curve. So always ask the owner for permission, approach from the side rather than head on, move slowly and calmly without looming over the dog. We don't want to do that, especially the little ones. They're always like, oh my God, hands coming on my head.
Yes.
And then allow the dog to approach you rather than reaching for them, and avoid direct eye contact. You could do what I used to do is I would look at them and look away. Look at them and look away. And maybe I would even do some lip licking, because those are
calming signals. Do your calming signals.
Basically what it is signaling to the dog is that not a threat. I'm here. I'm a friend. I'm just checking things out, seeing what's going on. But, look away, look away. They understand that. So those kind of in a nutshell, that's
absolutely. The arc is hugely important, right? That's one of the reasons that you run into so many problems with dogs greeting on leash. Yeah. Because they have to come face to face.
Yes. Well,
that's not normal for them. That's, like you said, that's very confrontational for them.
And one of my dogs is terrible on the leash. Yeah, it's very reactive. Okay, so then let's talk about, some of those really subtle body language cues that we want to talk about. I think we loosely touched on them, but, obviously, if you're going to approach your front desk staff, or a handler is going to approach a new dog, you want to make sure that this dog has what we call, the dog gurus coined, green light behavior, body language. And so Amber, I'll let you shine and talk a little bit about that.
So green light behavior is from, nose to tail, soft eyes, soft face, no snarling, no tension in the body, nice wiggle, relaxed body, not direct eye contact. Remember, if us doing direct eye contact to a dog is confrontational, a dog doing direct eye contact to you is also confrontational. So remember, these cross barriers, right? So nice wiggly, maybe they're sniffing the ground. You talked about calming signals. One of the calming signals is smelling the ground. Maybe they're licking their lips. They'll turn their head to the side and look away. Super relaxed, casual. I like to tell people, and they're loose on their body. Like they're not tense, right? They're not leaning forward or leaning back. Think about, and I always go to the golden retrievers, not that golden retrievers are 100%, never show any sort of reactivity at all. But generally speaking, people can think about a golden retriever puppy and go, oh yeah, I know what that looks like, right? Just loose, wiggly, super happy. That's the body language that we're looking for.
Yeah.
What we want to avoid is things like a very tense dog. Obvious ones are a dog that is snarling or they're showing their teeth. They're very, very still. If they're shaking, cowering, you'll see the whites of the eyes. That's the big one that we always see, right? What are the ears doing? Yeah, whale eyes. What are the ears doing? Is the tail nice and loose, or is it really straight? Are they leaning forward, leaning back? So the body language is vastly different. And when you're approaching a dog, you want to look for these things for your dog as well as you as a person. If you see this when you're walking your dog, it's the same thing. We're seeing the same, I don't want to be approached behaviors versus, yes, come meet me and we can hang out together, right?
Yeah. And I know that like a lot of us in the industry, we're like dog whisperers. We can, it'll be okay. But be respectful to what the dog is telling you. That's, I think, the main thing. You probably are a wonderful, dog whisperer, but it's more about meeting the dog where they're at rather than, whether your skills are, fantastic or not. I mean, really think of it that way.
One of the things that you just said that can really make a difference when you're meeting dogs is meeting the dog where they are at and respecting what they're telling you. So if you have a dog who is giving you signs, I don't want to be touched, I don't want to engage, respect it, give them space as best you can. And often what will happen is they'll develop trust with you and you'll see them relax. But if you don't respond to what they're telling you, they often will have to accelerate their behaviors to try and get the message across, right? So then maybe they go from stiff to snarling to actually snapping. But if you had just responded with calming signals is a great way to respond, or giving them space when they were showing you their signals of stress, their yellow or red light signals, you actually could have diffused the situation and developed trust in an animal, right? Which is wonderful.
Yeah. Yeah. So I want to ask the audience out there, what is one thing you wish all dog owners knew about proper greetings? We'll give you guys some time to think about that and chat in there, but I'm sure a ton of things come to mind. So let's talk about dog to dog greetings. Or do we want to touch on children greeting dogs?
Oh my goodness. Yeah, we can very briefly. Where are you at on this?
I had, when I lived in California, I had a big dog. She was like a plot hound and she was just lovely. She was so great. But as she got older, her tolerance got a little less and less tolerant of other things. And
as we all do.
Yeah. And, kids would, because she was brindled, and kids would always want to come and pet on her. And I would just be like, no, thank you. Because she got to an age and she got arthritic where she just didn't really want that around her. And I just was like, hey, how's it going? And I would just keep booming and walking, as fast as I could. But I think, having children approach a dog it's just something to call out, and maybe we should talk about it a little bit.
So I have a child, as you know, and I have 15 nieces and nephews. And I've trained dogs for 30 years. I've been around a lot of kids and dogs. And without a doubt, the number one thing that every child needs to know is the words, can I pet your dog? Unfortunately, those of us that raise our children around dogs, often they think, well, all dogs are like our dog, but they're not, right? Not all dogs have been around children. And if you think about it, children can be really because they run up, maybe they make a direct eye contact, they're sort of ataxic with their movement. They can be really scary to dogs. Number one, always ask. Always ask. And if someone says no, then that's okay, right? It's also a really good idea to teach your children what it looks like when a dog doesn't want to be touched. If they get up and move away from you, right? Don't chase them. And we used to go into schools. I used to go into schools and teach about this a lot. And there were, 3 things that I made sure children walked away with. Well, 4. Number 1, ask. Number 2, never touch a dog with puppies. Never touch a dog that is eating. And never touch a dog that is hurt. If you walk away with that, You're going to be a lot safer than you were when you came in. If you don't have children and you have dogs, just be aware of it, right? Like not all dogs like kids. They can be scared by them. They may have never been around children, and respecting the dog's space. And I personally, your dog doesn't like kids. Okay. Some people have like a real, like, oh no, well, they have to like kids. They really don't. All people don't like kids, right?
Why are you looking at me?
I'm not. I'm just looking at you as my co-host.
Just joking. I like it. Yes, but that's very true. So great advice. All right, let's move on to dog greetings, because I'm sure that's what a majority of our audience really wants us to dig into, because that's what they're dealing with every day. And that could be the most dangerous part of their day at work. So, okay, let's talk about dog-to-dog greetings and some protocols. What would you say to the staff out there?
Well, number one, no canine body language. No canine body language. And whatever policies and procedures are in place, train your staff to follow them, because as we have all put these policies and procedures in place on purpose. So if you have a procedure to temperament evaluate dogs for group play or group activities, all of your staff need to be trained how to do that, and they need to follow that protocol, right? Number one, we have great programs around how to teach a dog, how to temperament evaluate a dog, how to run safe play groups. The body language is the same. If you teach your staff to look for body language that tells them and gives them information, then they can read body language in all circumstances. It doesn't matter if it is, a circumstance of one dog on a leash, or if it is one dog and 5 other dogs, right? It's the same scenario. So learning to look for those, the whale eye, the stiffness, the attempt to get away, all of those red light behaviors, I guess, they can determine for themselves what is safe. I will say from my experience, dogs can be very different on leash, and they can be very different with mom or dad. So many, many times we had dogs who played with, Bobo and Fluffy were best buds all day in the yard, but then they ended up in the lobby, both on a leash with mom on the other side, and they were not friends anymore, because it changes the concept, right? Changes the entire environment for them.
Yeah. And I know when people are doing the dog evaluations, I know some people, do it on a leash first. People do it off the leash, and, whatever works for you. I think both can be okay depending on dog. But if they are on a leash and they're going to be meeting another dog, I think it's really important to make sure that, number one, how is the dog react? Is a leash loose, or is it like the dog's rearing up? It could be a sign that maybe we want to ease the arousal level before we.
Yeah, if they're leaning in and you're having to hold the leash with both hands, that's an aroused dog, right?
Yeah. And then I guess if you are going to approach the other dog, you want to allow parallel walking before face to face. So maybe you want to direct the dog to sniff the behind and maybe walk back and forth before they want to move to the head. Because again, when dogs are nose to nose, face to face, or even another dog has its head over the back, covering over the back here, that's all really confrontational and kind of almost like they're saying, "What's up?"
Right. Right. Yeah. You want some of this? They'll lean over the shoulder. That was the big thing, is they would lean over the shoulder. One of the
subtle way of kind of bullying.
It is a subtle way of bullying. Absolutely. But one of the things that I always found interesting, number one, you're exactly right. Parallel walking is the best way to start, sniffing. Pay attention to your dog that you're using to evaluate your new dog. For example, if the evaluation dog will not come near the dog that you're evaluating, doesn't want to make eye contact, is clearly uncomfortable, hey, man, we don't need to be in this room right now, that is information for you to take in, because the dogs are having a conversation that we are not part of.
Yep.
Right?
So way far away.
Way. So I used to teach my team, pay attention to the dog that you're using as the evaluation dog. If that dog won't even come in the room near this dog, there is likely an issue going on here, right?
Yeah. And also be ready to have some distance if you need to create distance between the two dogs when you're doing this. And then, of course, use proper leash handling techniques to don't get all tangled up if something does happen, and then you end up getting tripped and it's a mess.
Yes. And I always like to have some sort of boundary between us. And you can run.
Oh, sorry.
Here's the thing. Dogs can have threshold aggression where it is only instigated by a fence or by a leash or something of that nature. And it is up to you to decide whether or not you want to have that in your facility. My thinking was always, well, they're at some point going to end up on a leash in this facility, and at some point they're going to end up on the other side of a fence. And so if this dog has this issue, it's probably not going to be a good fit for us. But I do like having that extra layer of safety. Mm-hmm. Also, for us, when we did evaluations, we like to have 3 people in the room. One with an evaluating dog, one with a bomb-proof dog, and then somebody in the room just in case. Because like you said, now you get tripped, you've fallen over, like you've lost the leash, things happen, right? Yeah. So creating that extra safety.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
Did you have like a flow? We had a flow chart too for our lobby, because we have to remember, like, we are with dogs all day, every day, but the general public isn't. And we would have people who would just come right in the door, like in the door, nose to nose with their dog, with another dog, right?
I know.
We're always like, don't do that.
Yeah, we had big glass, and we had like glass windows. So if there was somebody coming on the other side, we could see them. Yeah. So thankfully, we had that kind of protection in there to try to avoid some of that. But one thing I was going to mention, talking about leashes, like for our facility, we generally had 4 feet leashes.
Absolutely.
We didn't have those really extra long ones, and we certainly did not. We used the slip leads. We had our own leashes that we came in, but we did not use client leashes, nor those retractable ones. Oh. It's like safety hazard.
They're such a safety hazard.
Yeah.
I found out many years ago, there are a lot of amputations every year from people misusing those.
It's crazy. I don't even know how they can still be made. Anyways, so moving on. Let's talk about off-leash greetings and best practices. So, I think, did you guys do the off-leash greetings?
So we were set up. Not everyone is set up this way. Yes. Short answer, yes. But there was a barrier. Yeah. So we didn't just let 2 dogs go in a room together. The obvious safety issues are there. So we had, we called it a foyer, which was basically an area that was gated before you went into play groups. And we would do an initial evaluation outside of play group area. And then we would let the dog come in and let them just hang out in there for a while and see what they did. So they could sniff the other dogs. The other dogs could get nice and used to their scent. And we could tell a lot from that. So yeah, we did do in that way. But we never did just like, okay, new dog and bomb-proof dog, hit it. Like that wasn't what we did. No.
We did some other things. Basically, like we would start out with having the dog in a play area by itself and letting them sniff around, maybe a staff member play with them, kind of get comfortable. And we'd allow them to see some other dogs across the fence, see how they would react if they started fence fighting. Okay, turn off here.
We can stop here. Yeah.
But the body language still was green light behaviors and looking good. Then we would, take one of our dogs that we knew was always a good beta tester dog and let him in and play with the other dog or match, kind of the energy level. If it was a really chill, calm dog, then we'd put a calm dog in there. But if it was a, young, bouncy, playful dog and this dog was the same, then we'd put that type of dog in there.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. The bomb-proof dogs are a real blessing. When you have a dog who's just so beta and so chill and so, I don't care. I'll meet anybody. Those dogs are a blessing. You don't always get one of those.
Yeah, exactly. I will say though, if you are going to do those off-leash greetings at your facility, it's really, really important that the dogs have to know recall, the new dog and the dog that you're testing with. So that is like probably a must-have if you're going to do that type of greeting style.
And name recognition.
Yeah, name recognition. So
I'm sure that you have had the experience where dogs don't even seem to know their name. Like you're yelling the dog's name and the dog's looking around like, "Hey, y'all, she's yelling for somebody. I don't know who she's yelling for."
Exactly. Warning signs, in that type of situation, the same body language signs that we've already mentioned. It's the same in any type of greeting, stiffness, fixed staring, like resource guarding or just raise hackles, obviously that's going to be, you might want to like get the dog on the leash and take him out of the room right away.
The great thing about learning canine body language is it's applicable across the board and it doesn't change.
Yeah.
It's applicable in all situations.
So let's talk about some special situations, because I think this comes in a lot when you have, especially if the dog's new to a daycare or lodging facility environment, they come in really shy and fearful. So, for at least, I think we should touch on the human to dog breeding in this situation. We kind of touched on it a little bit more, but let's just reinforce that because I bet that they run into these situations quite often.
Yeah. I always, if the dog was anxious, nervous, shy, this is not a reactive dog. This is a nervous, shy dog. Sit on the ground. Sit on the ground. Don't sit right in front of them, right? Sit to the side, pay attention to something on the ground that's just super interesting to you and let the dog come to you. And then if the dog walks away, let the dog walk away. If the dog want to come back, let them come back. If you can take that dog into an area in your building that is quieter, that is a little removed from a lot of the racket or the high energy play, and let them off leash and let them just sort of take in the area and decompress, right? And then create your own body language. You talked about it early on, the calming signals. Create body language in yourself that is non-threatening. Stay low on the ground, no direct eye contact, that type of thing. Sideways, not front facing, not loud, not trying to touch. Sometimes we'll see people use treats in this scenario. I am sort of ambivalent about food. I think food can have a positive and a negative. It's not really necessary. Often the dog's arousal level will start to come down and they'll calm down. They start to trust you. But you need to, again, read the dog. What is the dog telling you? Respect what the dog is telling you. We would have dogs that would come in and on the first day, they didn't get introduced to anybody but our team because they were very nervous. And that was okay. Take them home, come back in a couple of days. Let's see how they react. If they couldn't calm down, we would say, this may not be the best environment for a dog that's super sensitive. So that was my approach with it. What did you guys do?
Yeah, we did something similar. If the dog was at a point where it was just a little shy and nervous, we'd take it to one of the play yards and have it in there by itself. And then we would just go do some chores in there, just kind of be in the room with it, but not focusing on the dog and let the dog get comfortable. Maybe we'd switch out some water buckets. Maybe just sit on the playground equipment and just hang out and maybe talk to another staff member, but what we were really hoping is that, and we'd come in and out of that room a couple times and just kind of do that over and over again. And what we hoped is that eventually the dog's curious enough about us that comes to us and starts sniffing us. And then when it does, maybe I didn't initially reach out to the dog, I just kind of was hey there, talk to him, and then look away and kind of ignore it and no big deal, and then a few times after that, the dog gets closer and sniffing more, then maybe I'd put my hand out, and if it engaged that way, then we can start creating.
Reaching for the dog is a key piece, right? Just letting the dog acclimate on their own and don't try to touch them.
Yeah.
That can be scary to them.
Yeah, absolutely. So let's talk about the opposite. And what if you have an overly excited the dogs that I call that look like they're salmon, spawning upstream?
Yes. That was the dog that got exercise before we did anything else, right? That was the dog that got private fetch time, got to play with a handler, and we tried to burn that top energy off. I've talked about that before, which is, dogs that come in the room like a tornado, right? So we want to burn that top energy off.
I know people like a tornado too, but we'll just talk about the dogs.
I can be like a tornado if I had too much coffee, but burn off that energy because that energy can be really destabilizing. Yeah. We've talked about this, right? If you introduce a dog who is way, way high strung and bouncing around and just being kind of wackadoodle, the energy is really destabilizing and other dogs don't like it. But burning that top energy off before you even try to introduce them.
Yeah. And I think another good thing is just not reacting to that energy as well. Just being the calming factor to try to avoid escalating their excitement is good. and keep the greetings like brief and matter of fact, and then trying to get them at some point to try to like sit before you engage in talking with them, I think is helpful. It takes a lot of patience. It really does. But it's such a necessity because you definitely can't have a dog that's like the arousal levels at like 8 going to a new group. It's just not. It's not good.
Because there's always one dog, at least one dog in your facility who is not going to respond well to that energy.
Yeah, and try not to reach out and touch them or go no. Just kind of try to keep your arms to yourself, I think.
Yeah, because any attention is reinforcing.
Yeah,
any attention, pushing them off, any attention can be reinforcing. So yeah, trying to get some of that energy out and then redirect them into a positive behavior like sit, or watch, or whatever command you're going to try and use is great advice.
Absolutely. All right. Well, we are at time. I'm going to wrap us up here. So if you want to have your staff learn all of these things that we mentioned, plus a ton of other great stuff, we have Pet Guru College. That is our staff training system out there. It's available for month-to-month subscription. It includes our historical #1 favorite Knowing Dogs content inside that, as well as we just added a new counselor role in there, the canine cosmetologist role, which is your teachings, our teachings on how to do safe bathing and brushing techniques and utilizing tools safely out there for that duty that you have. So Pet Guru College, I will put it in the chat and you guys can check it out. It's available. And then also I want to invite you to be part of our Facebook group, Grow Your Pet Care Business. So it's an excellent forum for getting advice, and I'll go ahead and put that in the chat as well. So, all right. Hope everybody got a lot of useful tips from the talk today. And
I enjoyed it. I thought it was a lot of fun. And it happens every day, right? This is part of day-to-day business ownership. This is just a day-to-day thing.
I know. Oh, Rick, you're welcome. Stephanie, you're welcome. Hello. All right. There's Pet Guru College. Okay, so now I'll go ahead and put in the Grow Your Pet Care Business. Sorry, it's a little behind on today. I didn't have these links ready.
That's okay.
Yeah.
It's Wednesday before a holiday weekend.
I know. It's my Friday.
It's your Friday.
All right. There we go. All right, everybody, have a safe weekend. I know you guys are all busy and you're probably running on all cylinders. So I hope everything goes smooth for your operations and you guys have a wonderful weekend and your occupancy levels are all booked.
Yes.
We hope for it.
Good luck, everybody.
All right, take care.
Bye.